But yeah, ultimately to close up that thought that I was expressing, when I say Saturnian, I mean in the sense that you don't want to get so stuck into this world that you think that the only way you can get things is to like blood and sweat, but in actuality, like prayer does exist, like faith exists, and of course they say faith without work is dead. But more so what I'm saying is it's like you don't want to get so Saturnian that you can't turn to like a higher power. You feel me? I feel like with the sun Saturn conjunction, and it's not even about turning to a higher power, but more so um, making yourself more powerful, because that's what the sun is. It also signifies your personal power, how powerful you think you are as an individual. But then Saturn, it deals with, like I said earlier, opposition and restriction and limitation. So with this conjunction, Saturn may creep up and make you feel inferior and as if you're nothing. And like your job is to learn to like strengthen yourself and believe in yourself and empower yourself even. You feel what I'm saying? Rather than thinking that you have to struggle. Learn to empower yourself. And it's like the law of attraction. I keep on bringing that up, but it's definitely law of attraction energy. But yeah, now let's talk about Uranus, right? Because you have Uranus trining. Uranus is trining your sun, which positively, which is all positive because the trine is a harmonious aspect. So with this trine here, you feel what I'm saying? Anyways, yeah, with this trine here, it does, because Uranus is the planet that deals with uniqueness, originality, and individuality even. So with your sun conjunct Uranus, you have a natural tendency and desire to want to be unique, you feel me? And you do like to stand out. You do like to stand out of the crowd, and be different when you can. And a lot of the times, you do walk around being in your own energy of like uniqueness and differentiationness. And that's ultimately simplistically put. But it's like we also have to understand that, Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, meaning what Mercury is doing, which is rationalizing and logicalizing, Uranus is also doing, but at a larger, higher scale. You feel what I'm saying? So, with Uranus also doing this, let me just throw this out there for you. What this means is that your differentedness also has to originate from like the fact that you may have like just the way that you think and rationalize and perceive the world is different. You feel me? And so because of that, you and of yourself become different. I hope that makes sense. But also, it always has to start with the thought. You feel me? But yeah, that's Uranus. Uranus is trining, and so a trine, it's like a gift technically. When energies are trining each other, it makes when planets are trining each other, they have a easy flow of energy to one another. And so with this case, Uranus, like I said, deals with originality and uniqueness. And then the sun deals with the ego, the individuality, and power even. You feel me? Alright. Now, let's get into Pluto. And you have Pluto squaring. You have Pluto squaring, whatchamacallit? Pluto is squaring your sun. So, Pluto is a sign like the moon, my bad, like Uranus, which also deals with change. You feel what I'm saying? Hold on, okay, Uranus trine, Pluto square, and that's it. Okay, cool. So yeah, with the Pluto energy, yeah, it's like, Pluto is a sign that deals with transformation. So it doesn't deal with change outwardly so much as it deals with change inwardly. You feel what I'm saying? And so ultimately, with that being said, Pluto being squared here, it's an indication that even though with Uranus also, it's Uranus is the planet of change, but like constant disruptive change. With your sun trining Uranus, when change happens and when you're asked to operate from chaos, it's not that hard for you to do, and you can, still be grounded. But it's like the difficult may arise when it comes to like internal transformation, transformation that deals with like emotion. You feel what I'm saying? Transformation that deals with like things that have to deal with the depths of your origin story, if that makes sense. So like things that are associated with deep scars. You feel what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense. So from that perspective, like internal change may be difficult in the sense that you may have a difficulty. So your sun is your ego, right? And your identity. Looking at your identity and what you identify with, and then going on a journey of change that's like deep, and you feel me? That's deep. I'll leave it at that. That's deep. But yeah, that's pretty much like Uranus. I mean Pluto's sun aspect. You feel what I'm saying? Pluto sun square. And so ultimately, your sun rules over your 5th house. And so with your sun ruling over your 5th house, this the 5th house is naturally supposed to be ruled by the house. The 5th house is a house that deals with offsprings, in so many ways. If you think about it, the whole solar system is like the offsprings of the sun. But we don't need to get deep into that though, because if we do, then it'll take up time. But those are like the offsprings of the sun. They all depend on the sun for life. They all in a sense came from the sun, we can even say. And so yeah, with that being the case, it's an indication that when it comes to like your offspring life, there is likeliness going to be a fruitfulness with the sun being here. But furthermore, Gemini, it's a child itself. So it's like there may be this dynamic relation that you have with your children, where it's like you can also be their friends, where also you, and it's like I see that because it's like the sun ruling over the 5th house, it's ruling it from the place of Gemini, so yeah, that does make for a very like friendly type of energy with the offsprings, so your children, they may also be your friends, which is cool. Damn. Then it's like, yeah, I'll leave it at that, Okay, that's the 5th house. Now let's get into your moon. Okay, so your moon is in Scorpio. So the moon is debilitated when it's in the sign Scorpio. So within the sign Scorpio, these are the things that you need to know. So Scorpio is a sign that deals with transformation and death and rebirth also, you feel what I'm saying? Now, it deals with depth as well as depth, you feel me? So it's a fixed water sign. And also, Scorpio is associated with luminescent fish, fish that have to illuminate themselves because they're in the dark, the fish that are underneath the water. So ultimately, when the moon is here, its emotions, because Pluto is also the sign of intensity, the things it is called to react and respond to are overboard, and they're like intense, they're extreme, you feel what I'm saying? But yeah, as I was saying, it deals with extremes and intensity. So when the sun is here, when the moon is here, understand that the moon, it's magnetic, you feel me? So it draws and it attracts things to it. Yeah. And so the moon, it signifies the inner child, but it also signifies the childhood, you feel me? So when Scorpio is here, let's talk a little bit more about Scorpio. Scorpio is a sign that is toxic, It deals with like trash and the recycling of trash though. So it deals with the aspect of life that deals with the generation of waste, but then the getting rid of the waste, so Scorpio is not just waste, but it's like getting rid of the waste. That's why Scorpio rules like the anus, the asshole. You feel what I'm saying? Because that's so. With that being said, understanding that Scorpio's association with the anus, you should know that with your moon being in Scorpio, emotional constipation can be something for you to look out. But furthermore, making it a habit to pass bowel emotionally. And so rather than, let me just speak in clarity, you feel what I'm saying? So Scorpio, it's a sign that's also associated with psychology. And interestingly enough, in its higher octave, Scorpio is ruled by the planet Mercury. And so Scorpios, a lot of the times, they go through traumatic experiences in their life, which ask for them to rise out of those ashes, which are signified by the traumatic experiences. But it's like Scorpio, a lot of them tend to get fixated, tend to get stuck in that toxicity. It's the law of inertia, you feel what I'm saying, which states that whichever way something is in motion, it's easier for that thing to stay in that motion than to try to redirect and change into another motion. And so it's like, this toxicity energy, they get stuck into it. But then furthermore, it's like Scorpio is also a sign that deals with like imprisonment, so that too. So it's important ultimately to ensure that you have done the emotional shadow work, and that you've restored emotional dignity if you need to, meaning that emotionally you can feel good about yourself and just feel good about the emotions that you're feeling. Because a lot of the times, Scorpios, right, fixed water, when you think of fixed water, when you fix water in a bowl, eventually that water starts to accumulate clutter and waste and dirt, and so, yeah, you feel me, with the Scorpio energy, it can be important very much to learn how to cleanse and to learn how to purify and release your emotions, the emotional body. So with the moon in Scorpio, do a lot of work that deals with your emotional body. And so this also intertwines with what I was telling you earlier about Gemini, and how Gemini deals with the unification of duality, you feel what I'm saying? And so Scorpio is just trauma, straight up, But then the cool thing about Scorpio, and within the decan that you have it, because it's in the decan of attainment, you feel me? This is like one of the most spiritualists decans or spaces in astrology, you feel me? So this decan, the decan of attainment, within the constellation, it's signified by Aquili. Is it Aquili? I think it is Aquili. Aquilus. Anyways, so, and this is an eagle, and the reason why this decan of Scorpio is signified by the eagle is because it highlights Scorpio's ability once they rise above their past and rise above the lower energies of Pluto, because Scorpio is also associated with Pluto. Once they transform and crystallize themselves and learn to put death to their lower desires, and learn to transform their sexuality, because Scorpio is very much a sign that deals with sexuality, and it's all about learning to redirect the urges of sex that express through lust into a channel that more deals with love and creation and creativity. You feel me? Learning to channel those desires into a more creative channel. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, so that's the Scorpio energy, moon in Scorpio. It's important that you also get to know yourself intricately, like astrology is a great tool in the sense that it'll direct you towards where you should look. But when I say intricately getting to know yourself, I mean getting into psychoanalysis, right? Analyzing your mind. You feel what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, the better you can do that, the more treasures you will attain for yourself. You feel what I'm saying? And it's like Scorpio, it's like the deeper a Scorpio knows about themselves, the greater their transformation can be. So as I was saying with the Scorpio energy, yeah, psychoanalysis, and it's important, like, the more Scorpio gets into that mystical energy, that mysterious energy of unveiling and revealing the mystery, the more powerful the Scorpio gets. And so Scorpio also deals with the occult sciences, you feel me? So things like magic and learning how to tap into your transcendental nature. Okay, yeah, you know, so the transcendental energy, you feel what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think the best advice I can give is this. So first and foremost, Scorpio's thought trend is I desire, you know, and it deals with the desire series. Feel me? So it's all about desire. And now, this is what you as a Scorpio moon should do. Learn about desire. Learn what it is, you know, and learn how to work with it. You feel what I'm saying? A lot of our desires are unconscious and they're actually negative. We desire negative things to come into our lives. It's like, because you can think one thing, but then you can feel comfortable with another thing. You feel what I'm saying? And so, yeah, so it's like, that's where it can be contradicting. And that can also be a union for the Geminian energy to unify. The thought versus the desire, which is really just another word for the emotion versus the desire. You feel what I'm saying? But it's like the cool thing about Scorpio is it deals with intense emotions. And so emotions are energy in motion. And it's like once you learn how to channel your intense emotions, which typically find ways to express through animalistic energy, then you can actually learn to better gain attainment of your desires. You feel me? Like Scorpio is a very powerful sign when it comes to attracting things into their life. They're very magnetic and they're also very sexual. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah. And we'll get into more of that later. You feel what I'm saying? But anyways, let's get into okay, that's your moon. Now let's look into the aspects dealing with your moon. And so your moon is also within the 8th house, you feel me? So it's like with your moon being in the 8th house, there may be a tendency of negativity, you feel me? Dwelling within like toxicity and negativity. And it's because it's like that's what the 8th house unfortunately is, you know, the 8th house. It deals with like imprisonment. It deals with someone getting stuck in their ways and then being stuck in a loop, you feel me? And it's like a lot of the times when you're stuck in a loop, it's not positive because, you know, when positivity also comes with it growth, you know, this feeling of expansion, you know, but then negativity and being in a loop is like constricting, you know, it's constricted. See, I can be negative from that end, you feel what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense. But yeah, you know, so ultimately you have great abilities of transformation, but this transformation must take form in the emotion, you know, like emotional transformation, emotionally transformed. I hope that makes sense. Okay, now let's look yeah, let's look into like the other energies, the aspects within your chart. Okay, so the moon is trining trining Mars. Okay, the moon is trining Mars. So with your moon trining Mars, you feel what I'm saying? This furthermore adds onto your emotional energies in a manner where it's like it makes you more passionate. It makes you more like in your feelings and in your emotions. But it's like it makes you so in your emotions and feelings that it's very easy for you to act from emotion and act emotionally. You feel what I'm saying? With this energy here. And so with the trine between the moon and the Mars, it's like it's important now to start cultivating emotions of like joy and happiness, because those emotions will then, which is your moon, the moon, once it's in a higher level of feeling, it will inspire Mars to find activities and actions for you to engage in, which will produce more like harmony and balance. But it's like ultimately this trine, between the moon and the Mars makes it easy for you to um, commune between like your emotional energy, but then like your animalistic energy. When I say animalistic energy, I mean like your animal, like your human body is actually your animal. You feel what I'm saying? And like your ability to move with it and things like that. Yeah, like with this trine between Mars and the moon. So this trine between the Mars and the moon energy, it can also make it that like a lot of course, also with Mars being in Pisces and the moon being in Scorpio, it's like a lot of your efforts, you shouldn't so much, and then especially being a Gemini, you shouldn't so much focus on getting things done and getting things accomplished through physical force, but through emotional force. Meaning, focus on cultivating the right emotional energy and making sure that that emotional energy is being developed and developed and developed, you know? And we can get deeper into this, and I can help you with some techniques on how you can do that, but that would have to be a separate session because that's deep. You feel what I'm saying? And it's like, but yeah, with the Mars, Moon, Trine, these are also individuals who are like serious about their comfort and they're willing to sacrifice and get to work and do what they need to do for their family, you know. But then it's like if they have a feeling about something, they'll act on it, with this placement here, Mars, Moon conjunction. But to conclude, because we're dealing with a water signs, it's important for you to have spiritual sense and an ability to operate from the spiritual plane rather than just holistically from the physical plane. You feel what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense. With Mars and Pisces and Scorpio in this, yeah. But ultimately that concludes that energy. And then like the moon is but the moon is ruling over your fourth house. So with your moon ruling over your fourth house, there may be some toxicity when it comes to your ability to nurture and take care of others, because you may not have been nurtured and taken care of. You may have even experienced like a lot of abandonment energies as a child, you feel me? But in general, abandonment energy possibly. And so there may have been a lack of ability to render and give nurturing because that nurturing was never given to you. So that may even be a place where you may want to work, expand your ability to nurture and your ability to take care of others. And to do that, like you would also have to expand your vulnerability, your range of vulnerability with people. How vulnerable you're able to get with another person. Feel what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense. All right, now looking forward to the video. Oh crap! Sorry. Look, I'm reading your notes. Thank you. Cause I'm in your inbox right now because I sent the notes to your inbox, so I'm looking at them. But yeah, so it's pretty much the moon. Now let's talk about your ascendant. So your ascendant is in Aries, and it's in the decan of activity. For what I'm saying. So with your ascendant being in Aries, this is good because this instills you with that ability and that the ability and that willingness to be strife orientated and be willing to push through hardships and trials and tribulation. Both Scorpio and Aries are ruled by Mars, and Mars is the planet of strife. So with your ascendant being here, you feel me, within the sign of Mars, it's an indication that through your life there will be a strife, a working hard to wanting to overcome something. If what I'm saying, you can kind of think about it in a manner of like the baby, right? The child who tries to walk for the first time. They take their first step, then they fall. But instead of just staying on the ground, they get back up, then they fall again, then they get back up, then they fall again. And that's what strife is. And that's what Aries is all about. Never giving up. Always wanting to be the first. You feel what I'm saying? And so, yeah. And so that's good, you know, because it instills you that strong power. But then it's like with Mars ruling your chart through the sign to the sign Aries, it's an indication that you are meant to, like, in this life, struggle until you've made it to the top of something. You feel what I'm saying? Until you're recognized for being like somebody, you know, also. Because Aries deals with the ego, and its doctrine is the I am, the me, the I. You feel what I'm saying? So it's very important in life, possibly for you, that you have a well-rounded awareness and a well-rounded identity when it comes to who you feel you are and who you think you are. You feel what I'm saying? But it's also like, with Aries being here, you don't give responsibility for your life to others, but in a sense, you allow yourself to be the one who's in control. You feel me? Who has to go get it. You feel what I'm saying? If that's what needs to happen, go and get it. You feel me? That's the Mars Aries energy. And now, Aries, you know, it's a fire sign, so it does deal with activity and energy. So there's a possibility that you may have immense energies accessible to you. But ultimately, with the Ascendant being here, your personal life is very much dictated according to how you feel about yourself, how you see yourself, you know, like your dynamic in your relationship with your ego. And this can even make like for a selfish energy. But it's like, that is what I mean when I say all of that, like how you see yourself. It's like the more selfish you can be with being an Aries ascendant, the more like your personal life will improve and get better. But it's like, it's important to understand that selfishness, even though it can be negative, certain levels of everything in moderation, right? We can say certain levels of selfishness are important and they're valuable. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah, but that's the ascendant here. Yeah, and then like your Mars, your chart ruler is in Pisces, so it's like you're not even. So this is warrior energy, but it's like you're not even fighting a physical war, more so of a spiritual war, because Pisces is a spiritual sign. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like that energy of selfishness. It can even be that with Pisces, because Pisces deals with collective energy as well. You know, it can even be that you're so exposed energetically that there are a couple of things attached to you, and it's like you need to learn how to detach from those things and start to walk in your own power. And this can be like negative energies straight up, you know, like, because that's what Scorpio is. And that's what Mars and Pisces can be too. Psychic attacks, you feel what I'm saying? Spiritual attacks. But yeah, you know, now let's look at like the aspects with your Mars. My bad, the aspects with your Ascendant. So the first thing first is that you have your Ascendant squaring your Venus. So Venus is a social planet. It deals with relationships. So with Venus squaring your Ascendant, you know, this can be an indication that, like, personally, you may feel like, because of your personality and because of the type of person you are, that people may not accept you, and you may find yourself to be more of a loner, more of a solo dolo person. And it's like, when you do interact with individuals, there's this whole process of learning which you need to go through, which does feel like friction, you know. And like this energy right here with the Ascendant square Venus, I also see it being played with Uranus trine Sun, but from a positive standpoint of, yeah, I'm unique and I don't care, you know. But then like with the Ascendant Venus here, it may be sometimes you may personally want to feel like accepted or feel like you're a part of people for the sake of not being lonely. But then it may be that people just push themselves away from you, isolate you. And that is also shown within the moon in Scorpio energy. You feel me? But yeah, anyways, let's look at what's next. At least you have Ascendant trine Neptune. With your Ascendant trining your Neptune, it's like, personally, this is also an indication that, like, I don't know how spiritual you consider yourself, but looking at your chart and seeing this Ascendant trine Neptune, it's an indication that spirituality is of great importance personally to you. You feel what I'm saying? And yeah, you know, so, and it's like, with ease, you may get into the flow of that Neptunian energy of spirituality. But at the same time, you know, spirituality does also, I mean, Neptune also deals with delusions and illusions and being delusional. So it can be an indication that maybe you may have delusional energies about yourself, but I don't think so, because it's a trine. So it's like with this trine, it's like when you get into things like visualizing and using your imagination, because when you're using your imagination and you're visualizing things, you're actually operating in the spiritual plane. It's real, those visions you're seeing. They're just not tangible, they're just not physical, they're not in the physical world, but they're still real. So with Neptune trine Ascendant, it's like, get into the habit of visualizing and visualize your personal life into a area where it's more harmonious to you if you wanted to. You know, Neptune also deals with ease and things just manifesting and coming to you. But from like, I'll leave it like that. Things just coming to you with ease, you know, because Neptune is the planet of utopian thoughts. You know, it's all about utopia. So it's like getting to that space and getting to that energy of like visualizing in utopian energies. And I feel like that will most definitely open up space for you to experience more beautiful things in your life. What I'm saying, with Neptune being here. And they're in fire signs too. You know, fire is also the sign of visions. Fire deals with vision. Water deals with emotion and spirituality and connection. You feel me? Air deals with thoughts. Earth deals with practical action. You feel me? And the physical world in general. But yeah, you know, I think that pretty much. Well, I gotta talk about one more thing. Pluto opposes your Ascendant. So Pluto also opposes your Ascendant. You feel what I'm saying? So with Pluto opposing your Ascendant, this is an indication that in life, you know, you may have gone through many times where something outside of you made you transform your personality, but it wasn't a flow. But it was like it came and you were forced to transform, and then it was hectic. You feel what I'm saying with this Pluto trine energy. Pluto opposed energy. Pluto opposed Ascendant. There may be a settled energy of settled energies happening within you or around you that are directing you towards a place of transforming and changing yourself. And so it's important that you become like a transformer yourself, and rather than allowing life or Pluto to transform you, you get into energies where you're transforming yourself through meditating, through recreating your emotional body. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it, you know. Learning to transform yourself rather than allowing life to transform you, I think would be a value, and that's how you would shift that Pluto energy. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, you know, for the first part, this pretty much concludes it. I hope that you receive value from this, and I hope that I'll see you on section 2. You feel what I'm saying? Alright, peace. Definitely let me know your thoughts on this. Namaste.